Hello everybody and welcome back. This is episode number 2 of our Solaire Dark Souls playthrough in 1080p 60 frames per second, running at 72 frames per second, at least whenever my computer can pump that out, and then record it at 60 frames per second. So in this playthrough, we're trying to play as Solaire. We pretty much have the whole set put together except for the iron bracelets, which we can't wear and medium roll. If we put these on, we're going to fat roll, and I don't quite want to fat roll. So we'll try to go get the Ring of Favor and Protection. That should allow us to wear the bracelets and fat roll, or medium roll, hopefully. But other than that, the only thing we need to do now is work up our faith and get the spells, particularly the Sunlight Spear. But before that, Lightning Spell, all that good stuff. We're also going to join the Sun Covenant if we can. I'm not even sure if killing Solaire has an effect on that or not. I usually don't join the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant, or the Sun Bros as it's called, affectionately by players. Not sure why I ran out here. There's nothing to do out there. Let's go back up here. So we discussed talking about two different things throughout this playthrough. Number one is game design, particularly as it applies to players from a gamer perspective, not from a developer perspective. So that really does change how we look at it. I think we should be able to make this run even at the medium speed, but we'll see. I think this is a good shield for fire, right? Yeah, 75% block on fire. That's pretty darn good when it comes to fire block. The other thing we discussed talking about is something far less related to video games, but I think it is something that pretty much like 99.9% of us are concerned about or are going to be interested in at some point or another, and that is relationships and dating. And while that may not seem to have anything to do with Dark Souls and a playthrough Dark Souls, oh yeah, well it doesn't. You got me there. But we'll see how the discussion goes, and if people don't like it, then we won't worry about continuing that line of discussion. We'll certainly continue the game design elements. So we may do half and half in episodes. We may have an entire episode about game design like the last one, and then an entire episode about relationships. But I did want to talk about relationships in terms of dating to start out, because that's how most people start out if you're not getting like an arranged marriage or something of that sort. Today's drink of choice is just ice cold water with ice in it. That's what ice water is. So basically, my wife and I dated for quite a while. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time, obviously. We dated for quite a while before we went ahead and got engaged. We followed a standard American approach to relationships. We dated, and then after that, I popped the question to her. We got engaged, and then after that, a little while later, we got married, and we've been married ever since. We've been together for a total of over, I believe now, was over 14 years, going on 15 years, which is, I mean, a pretty long time considering how many people nowadays get into relationships and then they end rather quickly. We have not upgraded this weapon at all. However, we are going to follow the faith path, which is basically divine. So that's going to change things up a bit. I may actually have to look up how to do that, because it's been so long since I've done anything other than the standard upgrade path that I don't want to accidentally upgrade it in a way that I shouldn't. But I believe I have to get it to +5 regular upgrade path first. Anyway, that's what we'll do for now. And then after that, we'll use green Titanite, which we can get off of the slugs, but they don't drop it as often, and some other spots to go ahead and bring ourselves as high up in the divine path as we can, and then we'll get some white chunks later. You can actually circle strafe this guy to get behind him. Whoop, I didn't give it long enough. Oh, that didn't quite work. There we go. But when it comes to dating, everyone's, just about everyone is different. And that's one of the biggest things, because you'll hear all sorts of advice from all sorts of different people saying all sorts of different things. And it can get confusing because you're not sure who to believe, or, oh shoot, that's not what I meant at all. Okay, well anyway, we're down here now. We are down here now. That's a trap. Oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot, oh wow, I'm dead. Wow, that's happened to me more than once. Alright, well anyway, I should have just gone for all-out R1 spam in that situation. Because everyone's different, I'm not an authority on the subject. You know, you could probably listen to my advice more than someone who hasn't been successful, because I think from the standpoint of accomplishing something, I've certainly been successful in that regard. I mean, I'm in a very long-term relationship. I'm married, been married for quite a while now, and been in the relationship for quite a while. So, so certainly my advice and suggestions and discussion of the topic should hold more weight than someone who's, you know, half my age and has no experience and is not married and has never had a long-term relationship. But at the same time, just because someone has a long-term relationship or is married doesn't necessarily mean that they're an expert on relationships. They may have just gotten lucky. They may be with someone who's forgiven them for 1,000 errors. They may be with someone who just, you know, doesn't think they can get anyone better and so kind of just stays with them. So you never know. You never know the full situation. Man, that takes a while. There we go. I think I was doing better with the Astora Straight Sword, but it's not Solaire's weapon, so that's that. But basically, we want to be cautious in advice we give, because I don't want someone watching this and thinking, well, this guy, man, he's 14, 15 years into a relationship. He knows what he's doing. I'd like to think I do, but then again, if you ask my wife, she might be like, oh, we got some stuff to talk about. So, like I was saying, everyone's different in more than one way. And the thing, see, I'm worried that if I throw this down, yeah, that's gonna happen. Or, I hate when that happens. Let's do this. Let's draw him down, as long as we can take care of him. Then we'll be good to go. We just don't want to get caught by him. Right there, yeah, him. He's our problem. He's our problem, dude, there. No, you don't. Gotcha, okay. Whew. Alright, so we're good on that end, as long as no one comes up from behind. So, when it comes to dating, you have to decide how it's going to work for you, how you prefer it to work, and then you'll have to adjust and adapt and compromise that to the other person and how they want it to work. And more often than not, if your experience is like most people, you'll find that you'll disagree enough with people that oops, that's my message, sorry. You'll disagree enough with people that at least a couple relationships will start and then end without being successful. But you know what? Excuse me. It's important not to get caught up in thinking that, okay, I'm in a relationship now, I have to make this work, this has to be it, you know, I'm in love with this person, if I don't marry this person, I'll never meet anyone else, and then if we break up, it'll be over for me, my life's over. You know, don't get into that mindset, and don't get into this mindset that every single relationship has to lead to marriage, otherwise it's failure, because that's, wow, he poised right through my attack, what a punk. Oh, I keep forgetting I have heal, I should use that first. Instead, look at relationships as learning experiences. I had some relationships before my wife, and they were definitely learning experiences. I learned from them. Some of the mistakes I made, some of the mistakes they made, she made, they as in she, and also some of the ways that the relationships went wrong and some of the ways that they went right. I think the first thing you need to do, this is my opinion, so you can take it or leave it, and there's always people like that, or who are you to tell me? Well, yeah, it's just advice. We're just talking. If you disagree or you want to share yours, go ahead and list it in the comment section below. I look forward to reading some of them off in future episodes. Dang, what a punk. Take that. But basically, the first thing you need to do as soon as you realize that the relationship is getting serious or starting to get serious, you need to set the ground rules. And some people don't like to do that because the moment you sit down and say, okay, it's time to define the relationship, you put everything on the line. Suddenly you call into question, what is our relationship? What are we doing? And a lot of people, when they get in relationships, they like to be vague. They like to sort of not really clarify what's going on. I mean, I've known people that have clearly been in a relationship with somebody, and they still refer to them as a friend. And I'm like, you're not just friends. You're doing all sorts of things that friends don't do. But, you know, that's something you'll have to figure out for yourself. But one thing I can tell you that I don't think is going to work out in the long run for anyone is this vague, don't define the relationship, don't really say what's going on. Because then you run into these issues where one or the other party gets really attached and starts thinking this is serious, you know. I love this person, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. Wait a minute. suddenly they're dating someone and it's not me. What the heck? I thought we were dating. That stuff happens. You know, a lot of people get hurt really bad when someone's like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were just messing around. I thought we were just goofing around having fun. You know, you never told me you wanted to be serious. And define the relationship as early on as you feel it's necessary, because if you don't, then the problem you're going to run into, well, the problems you could run into are vast. There are all sorts of issues that can come up, and it's just not worth it. And then the being vague thing, it doesn't help anybody. It really can only lead to pain and suffering for everyone in the long term. So define it and talk to each other. Make a decision. If you're serious about each other, then my suggestion is that's got to be it then. That's got to be you and her, or you and him, or whatever. And that's it. That's it. I've seen, you know, my job allows me to see so many people getting into domestic arguments and fights and sometimes violence. And way more often than it should, it all comes down to people not having the same standards for interactions with others of the opposite gender. You know, guys, a lot of guys will be doing something or hanging out with other girls, and their girlfriend will completely disagree with what he's doing, and he'll try to defend it and say it's okay, it's fine, and she doesn't agree, and you know, or they have two cell phones, one for their girlfriend and the other for their other girlfriend, and this stuff just doesn't work. I'm telling you guys, it doesn't work. There are people out there that claim to be, oh, I'm polyamorous, and I'm like, okay, that's great, you know, good luck with that. It's, trust me, it's not going to work out. You're either going to end up with nobody, or you're going to end up married to one person, and that's it. I don't jump on these, like, the latest new age crazes and all that stuff, these, you know, really silly terminologies. It is what it is, and let's see if we can upgrade this. You know what I want to do real quick? Shoot. I should, while I'm doing this, what I'm going to do real quick is use my second computer here. You'll hear me clicking around, and I'm going to look up the Divine upgrade path, because what I don't want to do is start out wrong. So let's look up Dark Souls Divine upgrade. You get to hear me type on my MX Cherry Blue. Cherry MX Blue? What is it called? Yeah, Cherry MX Blue keyboard. Great key sets. I think the best for gaming is probably brown, Cherry MX Brown, but the blues I love for typing. They're just so satisfying to type on. I love them. So basically it says upgrade to normal +5, and then give the Divine Ember to Andre Restore. Great, so we can follow the normal upgrade path. Excellent, that's what I wanted to hear. But anyway, no, I don't think it works to have more than one person. I just don't, period. And some people disagree with that, but I mean, I'm telling you from lots and lots and lots of what I've seen, personal experience seeing other people, I just really, 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 really don't suggest it. That's all I can say. Don't try it. Trust me, it's not going to work out. But if you want to give it a shot and find out the hard way, you're welcome to do so. I can't stop you, obviously. But yeah, define the relationship, figure out where you guys are going. How serious are you? What would you consider cheating? That's one of the #1 questions that people don't discuss early. And I sat down with my wife when she was just a girlfriend, and we talked. And we defined where those standards were. And I said, what if I were to do this? Would you consider that, you know, going outside the bounds of our relationship? Would you be, you know, hurt by that? And we discussed our standards, and we found out where each of us was in that regard. And that's one of the most important things that we've ever done, because whoops, that's not what I want to do. What that allowed us to do is to get over and around this situation where, oh, I was able to upgrade twice. Awesome. You'll run into these situations where one person will say, well, you know, I didn't know that you would be hurt by that. I thought this was okay. And the other person's like, no, you should have known. And it's like, well, how was I supposed to know? And well, now you can very clearly know, because the two of you will openly discuss it, set the boundaries, and say, this is what we would consider to be kind of cheating on the relationship. This is not okay. This is okay. And then after that, you can refer back to your conversation. If you want to, you can put it in writing. Most couples probably don't want to do that because they would feel like that's sort of not romantic to write stuff down. I think it's solid to write stuff down. My wife and I have written stuff down before, like pledges and agreements we make with each other. Write it down and keep it and hang on to it, and both have a copy. And so if something happens, you can pull that out and be like, this is what we agreed on, remember? And the other person can't go, well, I don't remember saying that. I'm like, well, there it is. It's written down. So that way you get around all the ambiguities and the opinions and the different perspectives and all of that. But one thing is, a lot of people nowadays, I'm realizing younger people growing up, have these very open ideas about men and women just being friends. And I'm telling you guys, old-fashioned is the way to go because it's worked for centuries and centuries and centuries. If you're in a relationship with someone and you decide to go out and date someone of the opposites, or if you decide to just hang out with people of the opposite sex, like you just go out to eat with them and have some fun, just the two of you, what are you doing? Oh, it's just a friend. I'm like, the thing you're doing is a date. It is a date by any definition. Just because you decide that they're just a friend doesn't make it not a date. Is this a sister? Is this a coworker and you're at work and it's just part of your work duties? I mean, if you don't have a legitimate reason for being there, if you're a guy calling up other women just to hang out, just the two of you to have fun together, then what does that say to your girlfriend? Or your wife, for that matter? What kind of message are you sending? I'm going to kill a few of these guys, hopefully get some Titanite shards. I follow a pretty similar pattern when I go through the game. One of these days I should go through the game and purposely change it up. Do things in different orders and go to different areas and not do things I normally do, just to totally change things up. I'll probably call it a change it up playthrough or something. But in that regard, it really comes down to one issue, and this is what I want to discuss in this video, and that was a long lead up to it. Putting her first, or him, in the case if you're a woman, but I'm mainly going to talk from the guy's perspective, and then you ladies that are listening, you can kind of convert it over to your perspective if you need to. I'm sure that's going to be pretty easy to do. But I can speak best from my perspective as a man. I'm a man. And anyway, you have to put her first. And if you put her first and make it clear to her that she's first, that's one of the most valuable things and romantic things and caring things that you can do. You send a strong message. You're number one. Now, when you're dating, you have to be careful because this is not a solid for sure thing. I mean, even marriage is no longer for sure thing anymore, unfortunately. But when you're dating, I mean, you do have to take some caution. You put her first in terms of relationships. Like, there's no other girl. It's her. That's it. If it doesn't work out, you'll let her know and change the direction you're going, and then that'll be the end of it. You're not going to string her along. You're not going to just stay with her till you find someone better. Stuff like that, you know. You're not going to settle because you're afraid you won't find anyone else. You're going to do what you think is best. And part of putting her first, I'm going to include also getting married. Basically, if you get married, you're going to swear an oath. You're going to make a pledge. You're going to pledge to put her above all others. Or likewise for him, if you're getting married. You're going to say, basically, I forsake all others. You're first. I pledge to love you and care for you in sickness and in health and poverty and whatever else comes our way. So basically you're saying, whether we have a lot of money or not, whether you get sick or not, whether this happens, whether that happens, you're first, you're priority, you're number one. And a lot of people just say those words nowadays and don't even care. It's just, well, we're just saying a phrase at a wedding, and if it doesn't work out, we'll get married, and then we'll get divorced within a year. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Everyone gets divorced nowadays. No big deal. It is a big deal. You end up splitting assets 50-50, especially if you have property or retirement accounts. Like, trust me, anyone that's gone through a divorce, if they have any sort of property together, talk to them. Ask them if they think it's an easy solution. People like to think divorce is like the easy way out. Divorce is not easy. It is not easy, especially if you have kids. You're talking about, I mean, you can do damage to people's lives that just, oh shoot, yep, I knew that was coming. That never gets undone. That can never quite be undone. And if you get divorced, the chance of your children getting divorced is like exponentially higher. So that's something to think about. So you got to be serious about getting married, and you got to take those oaths seriously. And I think the reason a lot of relationships fail is not because of irreconcilable differences. It's because these people never set up their expectations. They never decided what's what. They never decided what is too far, what should we do with people of the opposite gender, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what is this relationship, define it. One of the most important things you can do. Plus, the other thing is, and I guarantee you a bunch of you are going to disagree with me about this, and we'll get into it more later. This is kind of an overview of a bunch of topics we can get into for entire videos. When you put her first, it's because you swore an oath to her. You didn't swear an oath to anyone else. You didn't swear an oath to your mom or your dad or your brothers. You didn't swear an oath to previous girlfriends. You didn't swear an oath to your children. You swore an oath to your wife. Fiancé at the time, I guess. When you swear that oath, you swear to forsake all others. That doesn't say forsaking all others except my mom, because my mom's my mom and she's the most important person in my life. No. The most important person in your life when you get married becomes your wife. More important than your mother, than your father, than your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, cousins, uncles, previous friends. Your wife has to come first. Oh my gosh, I nearly killed myself there. That's something I've told my wife many times. I said, you know, when we have kids, you're first. You're the priority. We live in a culture that idolizes and worships children. I know people are going to be like, what? No, listen to me. We do. We live in a culture that idolizes and worships children. Children are the future. Children are the most important thing in the world. Women and children first. Women first because they give us babies, and babies are children. You know, it's the idea of children, 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 children. It's all about the children. Think of the children. The children are the most important. Children first. We have songs about how the children are our future. We have this misguided, totally stupid notion that children are innocent and all these other things that we know are completely false. Children are greedy and stubborn and selfish, and they lie all the time. And I mean, come on, you have to groom children to act appropriately. If you don't groom them properly, you don't raise them properly, children will grow up to be some pretty nasty people. You have to teach children not to be what they naturally want to be, which is pretty bad. But we idolize children. We grow up in a culture where man and woman get married. They talk about how they're most important to each other. They swear this oath, and then the children become the focus. They have a kid, and things are great at first. Like, they just love the children, and everything's fine, and all of this. The child's the most important thing in my life. I do anything for my kids. I give my life for my kids. My kids are the most important thing in the universe. And then you wonder why your kids grow up to be spoiled little brats. Well, yeah, that's because you told them they're the most important thing in the universe. You told them that the world revolves around them. And then, I used to be a teacher, by the way. Then, people like me who used to teach or teach, teachers have to deal with your children because we have to put your child in a class full of 25 to 32 other people. And now we have to teach your children all those things mommy told you and daddy told you about how important you are. Those aren't true. You're not that important. Sit down, shut up, and you're just one of 30 kids. You're special just like everyone else. Now shut up. Is honestly basically what it comes down to. We have to unteach those kids the bad lessons their parents taught them about how they're the center of the universe, because you can't be the center of the universe with 30 other centers of the universe at the same time. But what we're getting to here is this. Oh wait, we forgot to. Oh no, that's what we're doing right now. We're clearing out what's his face, Lautrec. Basically, it all comes down to your children have to come second. Oh, why did I turn around? Broke lock on, punk. Let's use this heal, even though they may hit me. It's a very, very slow heal. Oh no, he's blocking them, and I don't have a ranged attack. Yep, I knew I was gonna get hit right in the face. Oh, why do I dodge so early? Ooh, shoot. Oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot. Man, I'm really risking it here. I'm not used to this medium roll in this build and whatnot. Ah, I cannot roll that attack, it's so delayed. That's my bad though. It's reliably delayed, so I really shouldn't be messing it up that much. But yeah, you have to put your wife before your kids. Your wife has to put your kids before, or you before your kids. Your kids, you didn't swear an oath to your kids. And if you put your kids first, your kids will end up suffering. Not only will they grow up to be spoiled little brats, not only will they grow up to think the world revolves around them and have to learn a harsh lesson in the real world. Not only that, but you will suddenly, at some point while your children are growing up, realize you don't even know who your spouse is anymore, because you've spent your whole life now, since the birth of your first child, focusing on your children, obsessing over your children. It's all about the children, 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 children. And then suddenly you look at your wife or your husband, you're like, who are you? Because now you two have been separate people living these separate lives. I have a coworker, he tells me, you know, my wife and I, we're like roommates that just are rearing children. We're like roommates just raising children in the same house. And, you know, I tried to tell him this, but I don't know how much I can tell him, because parents, I'll tell you one thing about parents. Parents love to think that they shouldn't have to listen to anyone that's not a parent. And I understand that. That makes sense to them in some kind of warped, twisted way. But I'm telling you, people who aren't parents can more easily see mistakes parents make because they're not caught up in the obsession. You know, when you get overprotective of children, people see that who don't have children because they don't have children, so they don't get overprotective like you do. People who don't have children see things that people with children don't see. So you have to put this in your head right now before it's too late. Your children are not the most important thing. If you treat them like that, you will spoil them, and you will likely damage or destroy your own relationship with your spouse. All right, let's go get the Ring of Favor protection. Because when you make the children the focus, you've lost the focus you were meant to have. That's your spouse. If you don't make it all about your wife and your wife first, then your children will suffer, your wife will suffer, you will suffer, you'll probably end up getting divorced, or you'll be unhappy, you'll feel like a roommate with your wife, and that's just not cool. I think that's how so many divorces happen nowadays. And trust me, divorce is going to be really hard on the kids. It's not cool. I know this doesn't have too much to do with Dark Souls, but I thought we'd do something a little bit different, interspersing some different types of conversation. And anytime I have mentioned relationships in past playthroughs, it was a focal point in the comment section. People really did want to talk about it, so I feel like this is a chance to make it more an on-topic thing, not just a little side note that I mentioned during the playthrough. Another issue in putting your wife first or your husband first is when you meet somebody, almost invariably, I think most people will find that you'll have one or more friends or family members who just don't agree with your decision. They've decided that this person you're with isn't a good person, or isn't right for you, or isn't good enough for you, or isn't this, or isn't that, or why did I come here? Oh yeah, that's right. And so what you're going to have to do is make it abundantly clear to them that this person is now a focal point in your life. This person, I'm going to disable the add-on here, or the frame rate mod, just so it's easier to kick this guy off. Boop. Bye-bye. And now we'll turn the mod back on. Sweet. Okay, then we'll log out and log back in. When you get married, you have to be very clear about it. My mom one time made a disparaging comment about my wife, and she wasn't really being bad or didn't mean to do any harm. She just was making a comment like people do, and that's not a problem. I'd make comments like that, I'm sure. And I knew that she didn't mean any significant harm by it. I wasn't really that offended, but I took that opportunity to make sure, because my dad and my mom were there, and I said, you know, Mom, I understand what you're saying, and my wife's not perfect, I admit it, but I just want to make it clear that my wife is the most important person in my life now, and she's going to be the focal point for me, and I got to do everything I can to make sure that this works out, and I do what I'm supposed to do. And, you know, she respects that. And since then, she really hasn't made too many negative comments about my wife. And she knows, like, if you got a negative comment about my wife, I mean, unless you really feel it's critical, you tell me. It's probably best don't tell me. Because, you know, I don't want people in my life trying to drive a wedge between me and my wife. They're not friends if they do that. I had one friend, I had her on Facebook. She was my wife's friend. And my wife one day came up to me and she was like, you know what? Let's call her Sarah. It's a made-up name. Well, we're making it up for her. It's not a real name. She goes, you know, Sarah's been posting this stuff on Facebook, and I think she's, you know, trying to cause an issue between us. And I looked at her and I said, you know, I told my wife, I was like, yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that. And that's why I removed her and blocked her on Facebook. And she may be offended by that, but I'm sending a message. Like, my wife is way too important to have some friend I just met not too long ago trying to drive a wedge between us. The answer is no. No, if you try to drive a wedge between me and my wife, then you don't need to be a part of my life anymore. There was one of my wife's family members, a close family member of hers, got it in his head that we weren't right for each other for some reason, or I wasn't right for her. And most often this happens with the wife's dad or the husband's mom. This is usually where it happens. You know, husband's mom decides, no, she isn't right for you, she's bad, she's no good. Or the husband or the wife's father decides, no, he isn't good enough for you, you can do better than that, and all this other stuff. So you got to take that step of, did I already kindle that? Yes, I did. Okay. You got to take that step to make it clear to them. Be like, you know, if And I had to make it clear to this person. I had to make it clear. You know, she's the most important person in my life now. I'm going to do everything to keep this together. And if you're going to try to drive us apart, then that's going to drive our relationship apart. So basically, you should make it clear to people. The more you try to drive me and my wife apart, the more you drive me and you apart. That's basically how it's going to be. So you try to become a barrier between me and my wife, and I will put up a barrier between you and I. Or you and me. I think it's you and me. Anyway, where were we? We need one more. Okay. I'm going to do this one at a time, even though I know it's a slower way to do it. But let's see here. Can I buy 2 more? Yeah, I can. Boom. And then reinforce. And then can I buy 3 more? No. So let's do one more run up here to get the souls we need and hopefully get a Titanite shard to drop. So I hope I'm making that clear without sounding too harsh, but basically you have to be a little harsh about it sometimes. You have to put your foot down. My wife's the most important person in my life. She's more important than my mom, more important than my dad, period. And if you can't make that decision, then you're not ready to get married. So don't. You know, if you're still putting your mom before your wife, you're doing it wrong. I'm telling you, you're doing it wrong. And if your mother expects you to put her before your wife, no, that you have to be the one to take a stand on that. And if your father is telling you that he should tell you what to do and not your, he should be the one guiding you and directing you and being your whatever you want to call it instead of your husband, then no, you got to tell him no, that's not the way it's going to be. You have those people in your life. So many problems between adults all come down to control, attempts to control. People are trying to control other people, and it leads to problems. So don't control other people. You know, ultimately, if someone you feel like is not doing what they're supposed to be doing and hurting you, and they're just not changing, then you gotta end that relationship, whatever it is. Not try harder to control people. And that's a decision you have to make for yourself. So I know this sounds kind of preachy. This is me giving my side and how I view it. And so you may be very different in that regard, and that's fine. So you can share your opinions, and people can take them or leave them. Being able to parry is so useful for these guys. You can backstab them as well, but it's a little risky when you put your shield down as you go around the corner, because you may end up getting hit. Oh, shoot. See, that's why this guy's risky, because he attacks so fast. I love it when he goes in that mode, because it gives you a great time to heal. He psyched me out. He's like, oh, here I go. There we go. I did a Baldur Knight cosplay just because it's so easy to get their gear early on. You just have to farm them. Now, when I say easy, what I mean is that it's not difficult. It just may take a long time. You could be farming these guys for 20, 30, 40 runs of this entire area before you get the gear that you want. You have to get their shield, full armor set, and sword. You could do the rapier build, but come on, if you're going to do a Baldur Knight cosplay, you're going to do the Baldur Knight side sword or the Baldur side sword. So we talked about putting up clear barriers and restrictions on your interactions with people of the opposite sex to protect your relationship. We talked about making sure that you put your wife first, you put your spouse first. You are no longer mama's boy. You are no longer daddy's girl. You belong to your wife or your husband. That's the way it's going to work now. If you can't do that, you're not ready to get married, period. We've talked about divisive friends and family. These people are some of the most dangerous people you'll deal with. If you have to, you're going to have to go ahead and let relationships fade away. If a friend is trying to drive a wedge between you and your wife, then let it fade. That friend needs to go bye-bye. And if you want to try to let them know, to give them a chance to correct their behavior without directly calling them out, you can. Or directly call them out, whatever you feel you need to do. But under no circumstances should you allow those people to stay an important part of your life, because they will separate you from the people, from your wife, from your husband, the people that really matter. That's who's going to really matter. And if you let them do that, you lose. Like, you lose, period. You're going to lose. And your wife's going to lose. And we talked about kids, the danger of obsessing over your kids and putting your kids first. You don't put your kids first. Your wife comes first, not your kids. And you need to make that clear to your kids, too. For their sake and for your sake. And the fifth thing I wanted to talk about, we can get to all these topics in greater detail later, is commitment. If you're getting married as a sort of trial run to see how things go, no, you're not ready to get married. That's not how it works. If you're getting married because you're pretty sure this is the right person and you figure if it doesn't work out, you can just get divorced, I don't think you know how I don't think you know how that works. I don't think you know how difficult and painful that can be. You have to be committed. And my wife and I have talked about it. We've talked about the conditions under which we consider it acceptable to get divorced. And basically, you guys can probably take a wild guess what that is. Basically, infidelity in the relationship. Or gross negligence or abandonment, things like that, you know. But other than that, I mean, that's it. You know, you deal with whatever comes your way. I mean, if suddenly you don't, you know, something about the person is getting on your nerves, that's not divorce material. If, you know, the person has problems with your family and they're constantly getting in fights, nope, that's not divorce material. If you have to, you just kind of move away from your family. To a lot of people, that sounds like, oh, what are you talking about? You can't do that. You can, trust me. You can start to slowly move away, show up to Christmas and Easter and all, you know, whatever, Thanksgiving and whatnot. But when they start talking that talk, trying to drive a wedge between you and your spouse, you just be like, I'm sorry, I can't listen to that. And then you walk away. Things of that sort. Why isn't Solaire here? Oh, yeah, we killed him. I actually wondered for a second why he wasn't there. Alright, time for some gargoyles. Who's ready for the gargoyles? I really should actually upgrade my shield as well, because I'm pretty sure the stability will go up on this thing. And stability is big. Especially on a medium shield where stability can make a big difference. Upgrading the stability on some medium shields can bring the medium shield almost up to the level of a great shield. Like you build, if you bring up the stability on a Balder shield, I mean, you bring that up just under what a great shield has. In fact, I think it matches some great shields. Is the other one out? Yeah, he is. Darn it. Yeah, the fire can be really tricky because it can be hard to outrun it. Got one and got him. Woo! Right as he was about to burn my face. Gargoyle helm. Easy mode. Alright. Yeah, a +5 Sunlight Straight Sword with lightning on it makes that a pretty simple fight. It's funny to think that the first time I fought them, like I thought, oh, it's impossible, you can't kill these guys solo. Now, I thought that about a couple fights in Dark Souls 2. Like, not literally impossible, just like very difficult and not a reliable fight. And it turned out to be true. Like the Watchers, the Ruined Sentinels, it's just very... Because of how they move, their speeds and all that, and the lack of variation of the Ruined Sentinels, those fights are extremely annoying and frustrating because you're just waiting forever for an opportunity to attack. And it's just not reliable. They're not reliable fights like the Ornstein and Smo fight, where you can get good separation because of their different movement speeds and move sets. All right, let's. I'm wondering, level up or level the shield. We don't use the shield that much, so let's go ahead and level up. Green Titanite shards. You know what we could do? Do large Titanite shards become green Titanite shards when broken down by Frompt? No, that doesn't matter because we're not going to get Frompt available until after we want to have +5 Divine. And surprisingly, I don't know why, but I forgot to put that on. So we should be able to medium roll now. Yep, we're medium rolling with the full armor set. So we have his full set. That's it. You know, we got the shield, we got the sword, we got his talisman, and his full armor set on. Rings, I'm gonna, as they would say in Japanese, tekito, as however I want it, at whatever is appropriate. or whatever I feel like I need. So we're going to do the Ring of Favor and Protection and probably Havel's Ring. So let's go tackle Havel just so that I can... I'm trying to fast roll with this. We probably won't be able to fast roll quite yet until we build up our endurance some more. But that's the point I want to get it to, is the fast roll even with the full Solaire set. Not sure how viable that's going to be because 31.4... I think we can do it. Build up the endurance and get the ring. So I'll kill these guys just in the hopes that they drop Titanite shards, because we do still need Titanite shards for the armor set and for the shield. I want to get this fully upgraded at some point. Of course, we can just wait till we got a whole bunch of souls and then buy a ton of Titanite shards. So no reason to farm for those. We're almost done with this episode. We talked a lot about relationships, and we'll get into more detail on some of those particular topics later, if it's all working out well. I mean, if it's not working out, we feel like this conversation really isn't something that we feel like belongs in here, or is not... what's the word? It's not really encouraging conversation in the comment section, then we'll change it up. Come on, buddy. Just give me a break. There we go. Nope, okay. Oops. Whoops. Whoops. Whoa, you tricky guy right there. Yeah. You're dangerous. Not anymore though, now you're dead. Let's get that guy in hopes that he'll drop a shard. Nope. No one wants to drop any shards, do they? Okay. We'll head back. Fortunately, the Balder Knights can also drop Titanite shards, as well as their armor and weapons and shields and all that good stuff. Come here, buddy. We should be able to one-shot all these guys with either a backstab or riposte at this point. Whew. Got their fast move. That's a slightly trickier move to parry. And nobody's dropping anything. Nice. That's a delayed move, so that can be slightly tricky to parry. Nothing, of course. Why would they drop anything for me? Oh yeah, we didn't get rid of the boar. That's right. The Alluring Skull. This is like the only place in the game I ever used the Alluring Skull. I don't know if I've ever used it in any other area of the game except for here. Burn, burn. And dead. Oh, the Alluring Skull got this guy to come all the way out. There we go. Grab this even though it's nothing I'll ever use. So I know for sure that there'll be quite a few people who disagree with me on those relationship topics because, again, I think that's part of the problem, that people don't realize, you know, the danger of not putting your wife first, and the danger, the extreme danger of putting your children first. I mean, children, I'm telling you, children are some of the most dangerous things for a relationship. You have to be really careful. And people have, like I said, they have this misguided notion that children are innocent and sweet and the most important thing in the world. So people just don't realize the risk, and then they end up getting caught up in it. And before they know it, they're divorced, and their children are suffering, they're suffering, their spouse, ex-spouse is suffering. Financial issues abound, and all sorts of other things come of that. Ah, nice try. Oh, shoot. That was too quick, man. You didn't give me a chance to recover there, buddy. Gotta give me... Oh, wow. That's not doing any damage whatsoever. That's terrible. I better parry. There we go. That's not too bad. There we go. And one more hit and he's gone. Hopefully... I think Titanite Chunk becomes a green Titanite Shard, right? I don't know. I just need green Titanite shards as soon as possible. if I can make the chunks into green Titanite shards, but then, like I said, then again, by the time I get access to Frompt, I should already have a +5 Divine, so at that point I'll need white Titanite chunks. Oh, which will change the order in which we do things. Because we'll need to go other places first in order to upgrade our weapon, so we'll end up going to the catacombs much, much earlier than we normally would. Well, guys, that's going to be it for this edition of the Solaire playthrough. Let me know what you thought about our relationship conversation. I'm sure there's lots of topics in there that many people would disagree with. That's controversy. So, it is what it is. And I will see you next time. And until then, have a good one, everybody. And, oh, wait a minute. Am I no longer able to get the Praise the Sun gesture? I don't know. That's a good question. We'll just do this for now. Later, guys.